I think what's hanging over the U.S. is we're in between two possible equilibria. One could be higher tariffs, Liberation Day tariffs take effect or maybe taking effect August 1st, or this uncertainty. So we have tariffs about 10% or so, this uncertainty about whether they're going to go higher and whether the deadlines will be extended or not. And they're both sort of bad equilibria. We don't want the high tariffs, but we also don't want to really live with this uncertainty about whether the tariffs that we have are going to be jumping up in coming months.
Professor, from your perspective, who pays the cost of tariffs? Do we know?
Actually, we do know because we have these experiments from the first Trump term, and there's been about a half a dozen economics papers that have studied the issue, and it's domestic consumers. That is, the importers can't absorb those in their margins. They can't absorb the tariffs, so they pass them along. Now, that doesn't mean that final consumers, us as households, necessarily pay all the tariff because there are various stages. And imported products sometimes are a small part of the final price that we pay. But there's no doubt that it's passed within this country. So it's not other countries paying the tariffs. It's we in the U.S. will be paying for these tariffs.
So in terms of tariff policy, I think most people have kind of understood it and experienced it on maybe a product by product or country by country basis. How effective are tariffs on kind of this kind of global approach that we're seeing from the Trump administration, and kind of what's the net effect?
Well, you're absolutely right that in the past, tariffs have been sort of piecemeal, either imposed on a particular product or a particular product coming from a particular country, anti-dumping duties, duties targeted at China and what have you. And so the easy thing about them, or one element of them, is that they're easily evaded. You just shift where you're importing from. It's called trade diversion. You start importing more from Mexico or Vietnam instead of China or what have you. But if you're imposing these blanket tariffs on everyone, it really has a much bigger effect than all those piecemeal tariffs that we've seen in the past.
Doug, when I went back and I read the McKinley speech in Buffalo, New York, the day before President McKinley was assassinated, you've been eloquent on this. You said there was a shift in McKinley's certitude about tariffs. Can we see the same shift from President Trump?
I don't think we see it yet, but I think what you see is this conviction that we ought to be imposing these tariffs being tempered by some of his advisors, particularly Scott Bessent at Treasury. And I think the market reaction to the April 2nd announcement of the Liberation Day tariffs, that is 3 or 4 days of consecutive 1% declines in major equities, the rise in bond yields, that may have spooked the administration and may temper how much they're willing to follow through.
Your iconic book, Against the Tide, I mean, when you published that, the glacier was just pulling back north of Hanover, New Hampshire. If you move to the modern day, Doug Irwin, with a new financialization of American capitalism, can the financial vigilantes, the copper vigilantes, can they join Ed Yardeni's vigilantes?
In some sense, yes. I mean, the dramatic rise in copper prices yesterday, I mean, users are going to be paying a lot. This idea that, once again, other countries are going to pay the tariff, it won't be passed through to domestic prices. We saw that with copper just yesterday. And when we see this on shoes and T-shirts and electronics and all the other things that these broad tariffs may be applied on August 1st, we're going to have a major impact on the economy. And I think temper the ability of the policymakers to say, yeah, we're going to go full speed ahead on this.